Hey y'all, it's January, so you know what that means, right?
No.
Kirby dolls have ass?
No, it's Royal Rumble season. Let's get the conversation started.
Makes a lot more sense.
Hello and welcome to the first LexiCon of 2023. It is Maddie along with
Lexi.
Dylan.
and the Royal Rumble is just around the corner. So today we thought we'd watch a past Rumble. Now, we consider the very first Royal Rumble, which is celebrating its 35th anniversary this year. And back then, the late Pat Patterson's reimagining of the classic Battle Royal headlined a USA Network special of the same name, which went head-to-head with Jim Crockett Promotions' Bunkhouse Stampede pay-per-view. Just another case of Vince McMahon screwing over JCP, much as he did in creating the Survivor Series pay-per-view to counteract Crockett's initial pay-per-view offering Starrcade in November of 1987. We also considered the Rumble from 30 years ago, which happened just a few weeks after the debut of Monday Night Raw and was the first Rumble which featured the prize of a WrestleMania title shot for the winner, a tradition which has continued for nearly every Rumble since. But at the end of the day, however, we decided to watch the 25th anniversary edition from January 18th, 1998, mainly because it features a few wrestlers that these two may have heard of, guys like The Rock, Mick Foley,
The Rock.
and of course winning his second consecutive Rumble, well, spoilers, sorry, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Gosh dang, how dare you spoil that?
Now, this match took place in the early days of the Attitude Era and the height of the Monday Night Wars, and featured Iron Mike Tyson in the crowd, rooting on, as he called, Cold Stone Steve Austin. Tyson was beginning a program that would garner a lot of publicity for the company, as he would be the special guest enforcer for Austin's match with champ Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, and it would be Tyson who would raise Austin's hand after Stone Cold won his first world title.
Nice.
Alright, for those of you watching along with us, if you're using Peacock, navigate to WWE Premium Live Events Royal Rumble Season 12, 1998. However you're watching, get to 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 10 seconds. This is apparently one of the years that the Rumble didn't finish the show, and you should see Mike Tyson front and center on the screen. Now, we've got our sound down, our closed captioning on, and hopefully we'll be plenty entertaining even if you're not watching along. For those that are, however, we're going to count down 3, 2, 1, play, and we'll all start on play. So you guys got anything you need to throw in before we start?
I don't think so.
Alright then, without any further ado, let's watch the 1998 Royal Rumble in 3, 2, 1, play. There you see the baddest man on the planet. Come on, Sammy, man. We're gonna watch the Royal Rumble. Cold Stone Steve Austin gonna win the thing. Yeah, I made a bit of Evander Holyfield there, but so what? It tasted good, man. This is fresh off Mike Tyson being suspended from pro boxing for biting Evander Holyfield's ear in that infamous fight. I think the original plan was actually for him to wrestle Steve Austin at WrestleMania, but the boxing commission kind of frowned on him getting in the ring at all when he's suspended from their sport.
Yeah.
So it ended up with him being the enforcer, which I think was way better because they needed to get the belt on Steve Austin at this time, especially with Shawn leaving with a back injury.
Nice.
Why did he bite his
You're asking me? Look, I may have done a cut-rate Mike Tyson impression, but I'm not in the man's mind.
Like in the middle of a boxing match, I'm going to bite his ear!
Look, I was hungry. I hadn't eaten all that day. It just was there. It was big and juicy. I just need to take a bite of it, man. Or maybe he's like, I'm a big Vincent Van Gogh fan, so I wanted to recreate that. Just take it off the ear, you know?
Nice.
I got a copy of Sunflowers in my dressing room.
Everyone knows a proper diet includes one ear every week.
Alright, anyway, here in the match, they're running down the rules of the Royal Rumble. Of course, this is sort of turning the traditional Battle Royal on its head. In the traditional Battle Royal, 10, 15, 20, 30, however many competitors you have would all start in the ring at one time, with the goal being to throw each other out over the top rope until only one wrestler is left standing. This is the same rules, except it begins with only two wrestlers, then every 90 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, another wrestler comes in.
Nice.
And then you see Mick Foley and the guys of Cactus Jack coming to the ring to start things out.
Yeah. He's got a trash can?
Do you guys have a favorite Mick Foley persona?
No.
No.
I just like McFoley.
I was saying, that's what it comes down to, basically. You just like Mick at this point. Of course, Cactus was the first persona most of us wrestling fans
Now he has
knew.
2.
Personas? No, he's got 4. Cactus.
He has 4?
Cactus, Mankind, Dude Love, and just Mick.
Nice.
Remember when he was commissioner of WWE, he was just Mick Foley. And my
Makes
apologies,
sense.
I'm probably going to go back and forth between WWE and WWF. I came up in the air when it was WWF, and so it's always WWF to me.
Yeah.
In the ring with Mick was a late ring announcer, Howard Finkel, who was the first employee of Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation.
Wow.
Came up with the name for WrestleMania,
Nice.
and supposedly had a really good porn collection. And he doesn't look like it, but this man coming out now is literally a legend in professional wrestling. A bigger name even than Mick Foley. This is former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, former ECW World Champion, Terry Funk.
Yeah, I've never heard of
I was gonna say, shockingly, that's not a name I know.
Brother of Dory Funk Jr., son of Dory Funk. Right now he's in the guise of Chainsaw Charlie, which apparently was his idea for this run in the WWF in 1998. But
Yeah, that looks dumb.
literally a legend. Mick Foley says he's the greatest wrestler of all time in his opinion.
Nice.
So that should show you what esteem he's held in.
Looks like he
Nice.
coated himself in flour.
It is like baby powder. Do you see the sparks on the chair?
No, not really.
I would rewind, but that would sort of mess up the comment.
Yeah.
Look, guys, trying to bake some cookies
Okay.
before we got here.
Everybody
Smell the
rewind
flour.
now. We went in two different directions.
So
with
many
that joke.
chairs.
You want to see a lot of chairs, you need to see the clip from ECW when, I think it was Cactus and Terry wrestling Public Enemy,
Uh-huh.
and Mick had called for a chair, and now to be fair, I think in the ECW arena they had a different style of chair. I don't think it was the metal folding chairs, I think they were
Yeah.
plastic chairs, but regardless, he called for a chair and a fan threw it to him, and then another one threw it, and all of a sudden...
Let's say, can
Public-
fans throw chairs for them?
They shouldn't.
Can they,
But
though?
at the end of the day, Public Enemy was just buried in the ring under a sea of chairs.
Wow.
Nice. Oh, Mikey had opinions.
Did you watch that? You weren't around when that match
Mikey
happened,
got
Mikey, I'm pretty
opinions.
sure.
Mikey has
Oh, no,
obtained
she's only
opinions.
been around since...
Is it an episode of LexiCon if Mikey's not... Oh, look at Terry. He's
Maybe.
braced. He's like, hit me, Mick, hit me. Here we go. Not a good
2015-ish.
idea. Kids, don't hit your friends with steel folding chairs. And
Definitely.
even wrestlers know better than to do that most of the time nowadays.
Is that
Most
like
of the time.
foam steel folding chairs?
No, I don't think so.
I'm sure you can make a flop of one. Make it pretty much how you'd make a sword, but it's a folding chair. No, okay.
Mick's giving him the chair. He's like, oh, okay, you got one. My turn now.
Oh gosh.
You know,
One
not,
thing about
Wow.
not the best
He
look with
takes some
2023 eyes.
That's fact.
As pro wrestlers often say, we really didn't know as much about head injuries back then as we do now. I mean,
Yeah.
you realize it's probably not a good idea to keep getting hit with a steel chair, but people didn't realize the extent of the damage.
Yeah.
Former wrestler Chris Nowinski has done a lot of real great work into exploring the ramifications of concussions and ways to prevent them. But, you know, that's been in more recent years. Back in 98, there wasn't that much information out there. And here comes Tom Brandy wrestling as Sal Sincere. Oh, Funk's got to put the pantyhose back on.
I guess they really
Just,
don't like him.
Really
Tom
went,
Brandy
wow.
wrestled in WCW as Johnny Gunn a few years before. I thought he had some potential. He never really made it on the mainstream. Yep, he's out now. Gets
Wow.
Wow.
the Bushwhacker, I don't remember if it was Luke or Butch / Jerry Lawler spot where you come in and get thrown right back out.
Wow.
And now it's back to Mick and Terry.
They did not like him.
No.
The signature Terry Funk punches. Mick wrote in his book, Have a Nice Day, which is an excellent read. If you're a wrestling fan, you haven't read it, what's wrong with you? But, that he always wondered how Terry threw such great looking punches, and then when he finally got to wrestle him, he found out there was no magic to it. Terry was just hitting people as hard as he could.
Reasonable.
The best way to do a fake punch, don't.
Don't fake it. If you can't fake it, don't. That's pretty much the idea.
Reasonable.
Suplex on the chairs.
That's an interesting position.
Yeah, well, how would you react if you got slammed on a steel folding chair?
I don't
should
know, and I
probably be
don't
in a
want to
ball
find out.
crying.
So that's as reasonable a way to sell it as any.
You
That-
can't
that
get
was
him
the
out
cat
yet.
jumping on the
Then you'll
floor.
be sitting by
Yes,
yourself.
yes, it was. I apologize.
And just wait for the next person to come in.
This is, of course, the bulk of the Royal Rumbles, guys. Almost going over, and then not quite.
Yeah.
It's where a lot of the drama in the match comes from.
Makes sense.
All right, and who's coming in fourth? Oh, which somebody you guys might recognize. Tom Billingsley.
It's the boulder.
Yeah.
You know, Mick actually did the voice for the boulder in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Neat.
Nice.
I wonder,
Avatar was
if,
awesome.
I wonder if we'll see the 98 Royal Rumble in the Young Rock series.
That'd be interesting.
This is pretty early Rock. This is just after he's come back from the knee injury and turned heel and is a member of the Nation of Domination. I think he's the Intercontinental Champion right now.
Nice.
If he's not the champ, he was wrestling for the title with Ken Shamrock earlier in the show.
Interesting.
I remember what was going on around this time, and of course I've studied it, and I was there during it, but I didn't actually get this show, so I'm actually seeing this for the first time probably ever. I may have gone back and watched it at some point.
I'd be shocked if you hadn't watched it by now.
Well, I didn't watch it live, and I mean, go, I'll go back and watch certain things, either things that I really liked or really wanted to see, but I mean, this is, for all intents and purposes, is just another Royal Rumble. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not necessarily considered one of the best ones either. And, a Royal Rumble match, even at its shortest time, is probably going to be nearly an hour commitment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure I've ever actually sat down and watched this start to finish.
Interesting.
They put him in the trash.
Oh, no. Chair.
Mick was very complimentary of Rock's selling with the trash can on, and this bump right here where he went through the ropes with the trash can on his head.
Yeah.
He thought that took a fair amount of skill to pull off. Oh, right in between the legs, that
The
dirty
Rock.
dog.
Great at being in a trash can.
You see, of course, they'll show the clock for the last 10 seconds, but they don't show the full... I don't know if it was 2 minutes or 90 seconds or a minute this year. They did different iterations, but the truth is they never kept to a consistent amount of time, even within each match. They would just send guys out when they were ready for them to come out. So if you sit and time it might be 30 seconds between one, it might be 2.5 minutes between them. It just depends. They didn't actually hold to that. Yeah, that was a little dangerous.
I was going to say, what if
Just
that had
chucking
hit
chair.
a fan?
It's certainly possible.
I mean, to be fair, he may have gotten lucky, and they may have been very grateful to be hit with a chair by him. But he could have also gotten somebody who would not be happy about it.
You joke about that, but there is a subculture that appreciates that, and in Japan it's particularly considered, or at least used to be considered, an honor, not necessarily hit by a chair, but to have some, get shoved by a wrestler or maybe even smacked by a wrestler.
Yeah.
It wasn't looked at like it would be here, where there'd be lawsuits and whatnot.
That's what I was saying. There could be someone who's very excited about it. It could also be somebody prepared to give a lawsuit.
Oh, it could be a
You could get
five-volt.
either one. I mean, yeah.
You definitely do not want to hit 5-volt.
No.
Rock came in, what, 4th?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, he's one of the final 4 in this match.
Yeah.
So he's gonna go a long way in this. When you usually have at least one wrestler who's gonna last a pretty long time.
Yeah.
A few wrestlers have actually started number 1 and won it. Flair started number 3 and won it back in 1992, the year that the world title was actually on the line in the match.
Uh-huh.
And you'll often have guys who just have a good run. They'll be in there for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, but you still not win it.
Yeah.
But so Rock, he was kind of the Iron Man of this one, if I'm not mistaken, with him being the Final 4. I think the Final 4, should I spoil it?
That's between you and Gaba at this point.
I think the Final 4 is Austin, Rock. Well, there's one I don't want to spoil, so I'll just... I'm pretty sure Rock is one of the Final 4, though, in this one.
Alright.
The other guy in the ring right now is one half of the Headbangers. I don't know if it was Thrasher or Mosh.
Nice.
And this is one half of the Godwins. I don't know if it was Phineas I. Godwin or it's Phineas.
Yeah.
Phineas I. Godwin and his partner Henry O. Godwin.
Oh.
So Pig and Hog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of... Yeah, this is sort of at the... not to say that there weren't really bad gimmicks during the Attitude Era or even after, but this is sort of on the tail end of some of the really notoriously bad gimmicks. Lots of occupational gimmicks. You had a dentist, and you had hog farmers, and you had a garbage man.
Odd gimmicks.
Well, I've heard somebody make the case that the Undertaker's actually an occupational gimmick.
Technically.
The Undertaker.
Yeah, but he's cool.
But of course, it was taken to such different heights and had different iterations where he'd be the badass biker and then the sort of hybrid MMA style fighter.
Yeah.
Okay, one is a guy that looks awesome in a hat and a big old coat. The other is like, yo, I won this farm over here.
What's your favorite version of Taker as far as his get-up?
The one with the hat and the big old coat.
But then when he takes it off, he's just got the tank top and the black pants, the more modern version of the Undertaker. I like the classic Undertaker, although I think I like... There were 2 versions of the classic Undertaker where he had the full bodysuit, the sleeveless full bodysuit. And he originally had gray boots and gray gloves. And of course, he wore the overcoat and the hat on the way down. But then when he made his first comeback, he switched to purple gloves and purple boots. And I think that's probably the coolest looking Undertaker. The Attitude Era Undertaker and the one from 96, 97, where he just had the skin tight outfit. That's a pretty good looking Taker. This 8-Ball, he was part of the... this was at a time when they had a lot of factions in the WWE. Mm-hmm. And it started with the Nation of Domination. It was Farouk and it was Farouk, Savio Vega, and Crush, and then they split off into their 3 separate groups. Then you had the Nation of Domination, Los Boricuas, and what was it? DOA?
I would not know.
the Disciples of Apocalypse. I think that's who it was, and that's the group of which 8-Ball there is a member. He's one half of the Harris twins. They've wrestled in different guises over the years.
Interesting.
But at the previous year's Survivor Series, which we watched the main event of, that was the infamous Montreal Screwjob. Mm-hmm. But the tagline for that show was Gang Warfare. And then that really did describe the WWF at the time, because you had the Hart Foundation, you had the Nation of Domination, you had DX. They were really into the factions.
Yeah.
Not there haven't always been factions in wrestling, but that was just a time when they were particularly on display, especially in the WWF. Of course, over on WCW, you had the big faction, the NWO, which had taken pro wrestling by storm and was kind of on its last legs by early '98. They would actually soon split off in NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack, and it would never really be the same as it was in mid-'96 and throughout '97.
Interesting.
When it was the hottest thing going in wrestling.
Yeah.
Although it was soon usurped by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Lots of individual things happening in the ring right now.
I feel like half of what they do in the War Rumble, they're like, oh, I'm just gonna lie here for a minute. You guys can fight, I'm just gonna...
When there's like 5 guys in the ring, and the other 4 are distracted beating each other up.
John Layfield making his way to the ring now, back when he was Blackjack Bradshaw, an homage to the wrestling tag team of the Blackjacks, which was Blackjack Mulligan and Blackjack Lanza, big tag team in the 70s in the WWF. Blackjack Mulligan is the father of Barry Windham and the grandfather of Bray Wyatt.
Interesting.
And so this was sort of the revival of the Blackjacks that didn't really go anywhere, with Blackjack's son Barry, and then John Layfield is Blackjack Bradshaw. He had been wrestling as Justin Hawk Bradshaw, and then would eventually go on to bigger fame as JBL. We'd have a world title run in 2005, I think is when he had that nearly year-long run.
No.
Or 2004 into 2005, and then Cena would win his first world championship from JBL at WrestleMania in 2005.
I recently saw an ad that had John Cena in it. And like a bunch of little tiny John Cenas everywhere.
Why were the tiny John Cenas?
I don't know. I don't even remember what the ad was for.
John Cena in the Royal Rumble with a bunch of tiny John Cenas to eliminate people. Phineas and Dwayne almost got Terry Funk out of there, but he's back in.
Bro, just go out already.
He's in right now.
I think, is Mick out? I think Mick's out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mick.
Who eliminated him? I didn't see it.
I don't remember.
I'm sorry, not Mick. Not Mick. Cactus.
Yes.
6,
Completely
5, 4, 3, 2. Is your record skipping?
Yes.
Oh, the late Owen Hart. But apparently Jeff Jarrett didn't want him to make it to the ring. And there's Jim Cornette back there with the tennis racket.
Yeah.
I guess he was working in Jeff's... Yeah, I think this is when they were doing the unfortunate revival of the NWA.
Ah.
Not to be confused with the NWO on WWF television. That's one of the NWA belts that Jeff's wearing. I guess he and Owen were in a bit of a feud. Cornette getting in some stomps. Not crazy about the colors on Jeff's singlet. That's not a particularly good look.
Oh, I guess he's gonna lay that for him.
I guess Owen was a babyface at this point, because remember, this is just a few months after the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah.
Where his brother was literally screwed out of the title by Vince McMahon. We talked about that on our Tale of Two Matches episode. And Owen had come back to the company as a big babyface going after Shawn, and Shawn, of course, being the wrestler who was on the other side of the ring, walked out with the title, claimed he didn't know anything about it, but of course, in retrospect, we know that he did.
Yeah.
But even though Owen had his biggest success in the WWF as a heel, he was a pretty big babyface at this point, which you noticed the crowd popped when he came out. But technically still in the match, though, even though he was stomped on by Jeff. Technically still in the match.
Yeah,
because he has to get into the ring and
he gets to take a little nap.
You have to get in and be thrown out over the top rope.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best strategy is to not into the ring.
We've seen versions of that, either not entering the ring or slipping out under the rope.
Yeah.
And waiting a while to come back in. Seth Rollins did that a few years ago, which was kind of a bad look since he was a babyface at the time. But
it's like head over, grab some McDonald's, go bird watching, then come back when there's only like 2 people.
From Steve Blackman.
They're probably exhausted from fighting, meanwhile you're energized.
Legitimate martial arts expert, and probably legitimately one of the baddest, not as in poor wrestler, but biggest badasses in the history, at least in the modern history of pro wrestling. And Funk's
What? Just kick his hands!
not going out.
Oh my gosh! So, oh, you're dangling there? Yeah, I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah.
But you talk about the going out of the ring strategy. In the year before this, in 1997, Steve Austin was actually eliminated from the match. But because all the referees were preoccupied with, I think, Mick Foley and Terry Funk brawling with each other, they didn't see it. Mm-hmm. And so then he was able to come back in and then eliminate Bret Hart to officially win the match, even though he'd technically been eliminated.
Huh.
I was gonna say, has anybody gone out on accident before? Like, they weren't supposed to.
Yes.
But they just kind of accidentally
I can't bring up any specific instances except for, I don't know the year, late 2000s, early 2010s probably.
Uh-huh.
The finish was supposed to be, I guess it was supposed to be John Cena and Batista going over nearly at the same time, but Cena hitting first, or he was supposed to almost get Batista out, and then Batista was to reverse it on him, but they accidentally fell out at exactly the same time. And that was the other Vince came storming out, tore his quad muscle getting in the ring, tore his second quad muscle, couldn't stand up, was sitting there in the corner saying, "We're going to restart this," or whatever.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so that's an example.
That sounds like Like, that very much did not go according to plan.
Speaking of Vince, we should probably mention some current events. You guys got any thoughts on Vince returning to the company?
It's an interesting move.
Of course, for those who don't know, Vince McMahon, of course, left his position with the company last year amid allegations of sexual misconduct and hush money payments. But even during that, he remained the majority stockholder in the company. And earlier this year, he decided to come back to the board of directors with a couple of hand-picked associates. And now he's been reelected as chairman of the board. Meanwhile, his daughter, Stephanie McMahon, has resigned her position as co-CEO, leaving Nick Khan as the sole CEO, and Stephanie's husband, Triple H, in charge of creative, at least for now. Of course, a lot of people think Vince is going to try to put his hands back on creative, but that's yet to be seen. What does seem to be known is that Vince has come back with the intention of either taking the company private once again or outright selling it. And I gotta say, I'm not crazy about the idea of the WWE being sold. And it's not a new concept. It's something that's been talked about for years, and I've never been particularly comfortable with it because, I'm not somebody who buys into the mythos that, Vince is the one who took wrestling out of the smoky halls and brought it into the mainstream. And it's not that I think he and his family are the only ones who know how to do pro wrestling. In fact, half the time, judging from their product, I don't know. They do know how to do it. But the fact is, they are some of the only people left who really know this business for good and for bad, and most of the other people aren't in a position to run a wrestling company, let alone own one.
Yeah.
And so when the biggest wrestling company in the country gets sold to somebody who probably doesn't really know much about the business, I'm not sure it's going to be a good thing for the industry. I think the WWE being sold may well be the end of professional wrestling.
Beginning of the end.
On a large scale, at least in the United States.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Definitely. Don't quite know how that's going to work out yet.
D'Lo Brown about to be eliminated. He was the last wrestler who came in. And here's Kurgan coming in.
Interesting.
A former member of the Truth Commission and perhaps current member of the Oddities. A couple of not-so-great gimmicks from this era in WWF. Yeah, they're calling him the Interrogator, so this may still be during the Truth Commission era.
A lot of these people are wearing black.
Yes, black's popular color.
Yeah, doesn't show sweat. You are right though. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 wrestlers with black. And Phineas's shirt underneath his overalls is black.
Yeah, I think the only one
Chainsaw Charlie is about the only one who stands out.
Technically, that's only his main clothing that's not black.
Who?
Tay. Chainsaw, whatever.
What do you mean by his only his main clothing that's not black? What other clothing does he have?
The pantyhose thing that he puts on is black.
There goes the head. It was Mosh. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Mosh or Thrasher.
There's the ad too.
The shoes
it looks like Terry's got a black shirt underneath his red shirt too. So
look, this is the ad today. If you are wearing black, you aren't important.
This is the ascendancy of Stone Cold. And he made famous the black trunks, black boots. Low blow from 8 Ball to Phineas.
It's like, get some color in there.
No, it was the 90s.
Somebody just said ow. The closed caption just said ow.
It's like, I like black as much as the next person, but get some color in there.
Like
And somebody called Jim Cornette slime as well.
And plus, so many colors go well with black.
That's fact.
That is a totally 90s style sign out there. That radio station sign, Wild 94.9 or whatever.
I can't think of any colors that don't go well with black.
This is Mark Merrow, the
I like
former
brown
Johnny
or
B.
something.
Bad, with his much more famous wife, or ex-wife now, Sable. Now the wife of Brock Lesnar. Sable, not Mark Merrow.
I guess brown doesn't go well with black, really.
It depends.
They don't really contrast much. Not a lot of contrast.
Yeah, brown and black's not a great look. It's okay.
It's not great, but that's why I said it kind of depends on the exact context.
I kind of prefer lighter colors
Uh-huh.
with black for the more contrast.
Uh-huh.
Mark Merrow, another legitimate badass, maybe not on the level of someone like Blackman, but he was the former Golden Gloves boxer. And he's got the boxing trunks. He's kind of doing a boxer gimmick right now.
Nice.
But, that's a legit background. The hand tear exchanging blows. Can you guys cover for just a second? I gotta go blow my nose.
Sure.
Yes. Alright.
Make your comments.
Let's see. Let's see what's going on.
Do you remember the names of any of these
Alright,
guys?
people are
except for The
punching
Rock?
other people. Isn't the chainsaw guy
I mean, at least the camera is focused on The Rock when he leaves the room. We know that much.
Yes, look at the walk.
Yes.
We watched Young Walk,
Yes.
which is at least 2% accurate.
Yes.
Man, I love when the walk was the great. That's my favorite part of us.
Yep. The Rock's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
What else is happening in this ring?
A lot of people are
Damn,
getting
is The Rock
punched and
getting
kicked.
kicked now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't worry, he's fine.
Oh, yeah,
It's
definitely.
a little bit kicking.
That sign
Someone
is
else is
upside
about
down.
coming.
They fixed it. They were holding this Stone Cold Steve Austin sign upside down.
Oh my god, it's some
Who's
other
that?
guy who's wearing black. They didn't
I don't
decide to
know.
say who it was.
Shamrock?
I guess.
Okay.
It's Shamrock.
I'm
You
trying
know,
to read
the guy.
captions.
Yeah, they didn't
See,
put his
I don't
name
know.
down at the bottom.
Yeah. I'm confused.
Everyone else that's come out is like, it's this person, but this guy,
Were
like,
they
nope.
supposed to come out? There's a clock, wasn't it? I have no idea what's happening.
There was a
anymore.
clock.
Ah. They just
And
did it.
Kurgan is out.
Ah.
He's mad. He's angry about it.
Yeah, he does look very pissed off about it. What else is happening? Is that The Rock trying to do
Is
something
Owen
over
still
there?
slaying there?
I guess. We haven't seen him get into the ring, have we?
Is he still just laying there?
We haven't seen him. We haven't seen him when people run out, though.
I see Ken Shamrock's in the match.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another legitimate badass, former UFC champion.
Did he
We were
fall asleep
confused
on the
about his
rack?
name. Apparently, it did not display it.
At least I didn't see it.
Interesting.
I was trying to read the captions to find his name.
Yes, Ken Shamrock.
Nice. We were just calling him Shamrock.
First ever
Owen fall
NWA
asleep on the
champion
rack?
during the TNA era. And like I said, a former UFC champion.
Nice.
Can someone get freaking Chainsaw Man out of here?
No.
Why do you want Funk to go out? Legitimate legend.
Oh,
guess
someone
he's
else is already coming in.
been-
Gosh, it's only been like 10 seconds.
I mean, to be fair, he did eliminate someone like as soon as he got in, so they needed
There's a
another
lot
person
of
to get
people
in.
eliminated.
It's the other headbanger, Thrasher.
Nice. Is that a Marilyn Manson shirt?
It is not a Marilyn Mansion. It is a Marilyn Manson shirt.
I had to correct myself.
Yeah, we haven't got any camera angles where you could see him.
Yeah.
But I assume he's still just laying there.
I guess. Probably.
Man, can you
avoiding
imagine
him?
being paid to just lay there for half the match?
I mean, he wouldn't be the first one. Or the last one.
Free money.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of like, if you're not winning the
To
Royal
make
Rumble,
up for everything he's done.
you might as well go out quickly. You're going to get paid pretty much the same thing either way.
Yeah?
Nice.
I mean, it's cool to have one of those marathon performances where you last 40, 50 minutes. You're almost eliminated multiple times. But, I mean, if you're not winning, it's pretty much the same payday either way.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, anyway.
I personally would not know.
I don't know, I've never been in the Royal Rumble.
Me neither.
I have played WWE 2K, though.
Which one?
And we have done the Royal Rumble in that multiple times.
Yeah, I don't know which one it is.
It's the one. It's your game.
It's 19, isn't it?
Probably. I don't know. I know I made Goku in it.
I think it's 19.
That game's character customization is freaking amazing.
Nice.
You can make Minecraft Steve in it.
I know.
Have Minecraft Steve fight Goku.
I do want to know why you can do that, though.
I mean, it's probably not the most ridiculous thing wrestling has done.
Sadly, that's probably true.
Oh, and also there's a special move where you can just teleport behind your opponent. Only in one-on-one matches, though. I think it's technically like the Undertaker special move.
Nice.
Like the lights go out, then you appear behind them.
And here comes Mankind.
He's in the back, changed his outfit,
Nice.
and came out again.
Mick said the hardest thing about doing this was having to get his boots unlaced and relaced because he wore different boots for the different personas. You know, he had like the leopard skin boots for Cactus, and now he's got the plain black boots for Mankind.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
Mankind comes in and immediately starts going after Chainsaw Charlie.
Reasonable.
And he's
Oh,
gone.
he's out.
Oh,
Yay.
wow.
Funk was in there for a while.
Yeah?
They said turnabout fair play. Okay, Funk did eliminate Cactus, so...
Ah.
I feel like there's a bit more color in the ring. A tiny bit more color in the ring.
Brown.
That guy has a red skirt.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I
tiny
feel
bit
like
more color.
not as colorful as previous years, more recent years.
Yeah.
This was the late 90s.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying. If you want colors, you gotta go for the 80s. Or maybe modern wrestling, at best. Even
Modern
that, I'm not
wrestling
sure.
has color.
I was gonna say, even that, I'm not sure how much color there is. I know,
Of what I've seen.
who is it? Bailey and Asuka?
Uh-huh.
I know they both have really colorful things. At least
And
Bailey
Bailey's
used
from
to.
heel and like
Yeah, I was gonna say.
50% for color.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a second, no, she changed.
Look, if you're heel, you can't have color.
And of course, what's her name? Alexa Bliss or whatever. She's had
There's a
some color.
balloon in the audience people are punching around.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sort of akin to like the beach balls you'll see in crowds sometimes that they'll knock around.
Nice.
Who bought a balloon?
Who knows?
I don't think it was Doink the Clown. And there's Goldust. Technically, he was the artist formerly known as Goldust at this point, accompanied by the late Luna Vachon. Goldust is it's Dustin Rhodes, aka Dustin Runnels, son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and brother to Cody Rhodes.
I have so many questions about his outfit.
Yeah, well, he came in as Goldust, doing this sort of androgynous gimmick. And he'd be decked out in the long gold flowing wig, and he'd wrestle in an all gold bodysuit and have his face painted. And then when the character got stale or they felt like it needed to change, he's sort of doing this really weird version of the character. And again, he's being announced as the artist formerly known as Goldust, and he amped up the really strange look. You could say he took some inspiration from somebody like Marilyn Manson, but I mean, I think he went further with it. And the rumor was that he went to Vince and asked to get female breast implants at one point because the company was paying for the female performers' breast implants and thought it would be shocking. It never happened. I'm not saying that the request didn't happen. I wasn't there for that, but it never actually happened. But yeah, Dustin and the Goldust character really legitimately one of the most enduring wrestlers and characters. I mean, even as recently as a few years ago, the Goldust character was still a viable character, so you got to give him props for carrying it on. Yeah, Mankind's been eliminated.
Is his next persona gonna come out next? Go in
Did
the
he
back,
have all his
change
personas at
again.
this point?
Do what, Alex?
So were all his personas around at this point?
We've seen Cactus Jack, and were they all around?
Yeah.
He didn't. I think he'd wrestled one match at this point under the name Mick Foley, but he didn't. He wasn't really acknowledged as Mick other than outside of wrestling. But yeah, Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love were all a thing at this point.
Nice.
And here comes Jarrett to make his official entrance in the match. I actually like Jeff Jarrett as a wrestler. I was a fan
So
of
you're gonna
Jeff
drag
Jarrett.
the other guy in? That
I mean,
seems like that
I'm
makes
assuming
sense.
Owen's not there now. Yeah, he's not laying there. That would be kind of silly. But
I mean, yeah.
But again, he hasn't been officially eliminated, so I feel like he may still make an appearance. He may even eliminate Jeff.
See,
That would be
medical
poetic
attention.
justice.
Doesn't know status.
I was hoping Kier's still laying there.
No, apparently he was receiving medical attention.
That would have been hilarious.
Jim Cornette, of course, with the signature tennis racket.
Why?
I do want to know why.
Because it was just his gimmick from back in the early 80s. Oh, here comes Owen. I told you he'd be back for Jeff.
Nice.
Ironically enough, they were good friends outside the ring and would be a successful tag team within the next year. And they were still tag team partners at the time that Owen tragically passed away from the stunt gone wrong when he was supposed to rappel to the ring. Yeah. And I'm sure we've talked about that before.
Multiple times, I think.
But Cornette's tennis racket, it was like an 80s thing. He'd seen a movie where there was like the preppy villain and he had like a croquet mallet or something. It was sort of his signature, and so he just came up with the idea of a tennis racket. Plus, it was good.
Tennis is also preppy.
Yeah, and back then, too, when the heels really did face rebuttals from the crowd and would literally have to fight for their lives sometimes, he could load up the tennis racket with something and use it as a weapon to help fight off people.
Tennis racket, my favorite weapon.
I feel like a crochet mallet is more effective.
And there went Jeff. He tried to eliminate Owen. Owen didn't actually go over.
He didn't try. Oh, God. He more just beat him up.
Not saying just now.
Ah.
Yeah. But then Owen came back and threw him.
It's Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, gosh.
I know nothing about Honky Tonk Man.
Wayne Ferris, cousin of Jerry Lawler. At one time, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Nice to know.
Okay, Triple H. Oh, he was Intercontinental Champion at the time?
I don't know.
Interesting. I know Rock and Shamrock would have a feud over the Intercontinental. No, he's not Intercontinental. He's European Champion. My mistake.
Ah.
Why is he walking out? Why is he here?
To be there.
I guess he's just out there to mess with Owen. Because, of course, he's part of Shawn's group and part of the cadre that screwed over Brett, so... I feel like he did have an association with Honky Tonk Man at one point, but I think it's just coincidental that they came out at the same time now. And there's Triple H's valet, and I believe girlfriend at the time, Chyna, helping eliminate Owen. Chyna's no longer with us as well. That's one thing about watching these old wrestling shows. A lot of people, you gotta say, well, they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
On that note, I should probably bring up, since we're talking wrestling, we should send our condolences to the fans and family of the wrestler who was known as Jay Briscoe, who was killed in an automobile accident at the age of 38 just the other day. And just another member of the wrestling community gone too soon. His two daughters who were in the accident with him, at the time we're recording this at least, are still in the hospital, but thankfully they're still alive. So again, I just want to send our thoughts to everyone who's affected by this tragic situation. Like I said, as part of the wrestling community, we seem to get used to losing people too soon, but it doesn't mean it's any less shocking when it happens.
Very much. Is that Owen just running
Owen just running off with the broken crutches. He got his revenge on Jeff Jarrett, now he's got to get his revenge on Chyna and Triple H.
Reasonable.
And this is Ahmed Johnson, the real-life Tony Norris, I believe, wearing earrings. I didn't say that.
What a fashion statement.
Either the King or JR doing commentary said that.
I have questions.
He's not the only wrestler to wear earrings in the ring.
They coming down on it?
Am I coming down on it?
No, they.
I don't know.
I'm just reading like pieces of the captions.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the King was a heel commentator and Ahmed was a babyface, so he would come down on things babyfaces did. And I mean, to be fair, two big hoop earrings are kind of a target.
Commentators with heels and whatnot, too?
Sure. Roddy Piper in Georgia and Jesse Ventura in the WWF in the 80s really pioneered the heel commentator, but Bobby Heenan was a heel commentator, Jerry Lawler, Bradshaw was a heel commentator.
Even the commentators were personas.
What?
I made a joke saying even the commentators were personas.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jim Ross was always a more straightforward sports-like presentation, but eventually Vince got him to be good old JR and wear the black hat. And that was probably the height of his fame, as that's how he was during the... I mean, he was still himself for the most part, but they did put a little shine on him as a character. And, of course, the King was just the King. He's the same character he was in Memphis for 30 years, even though he was primarily a babyface in Memphis. I think he went back and forth, but...
Interesting.
He was mostly a heel in the WWF, but then he started sort of becoming that beloved institution as well, so...
Yeah.
Even though he's still technically a heel commentator. Honky Tonk Man hanging in there. Here comes Mark Henry, the one-time strongest man. Legitimately one of the strongest men of all time, too. I mean, I've seen lists of people who were legitimately considered the strongest people of all time, and Mark Henry's on that list.
Nice.
Former Olympic weightlifter. as we speak now, former multi-time world champion, but he was early in his career here. He was a member of the Nation of Domination.
I feel like he's about to eliminate like 2 people.
He came in with a big push in 1996, but he didn't really get off the ground too well, and he sort of was mired in the mid-card for a long time before really finding success.
Is he going to be the big guy that comes in and eliminates like 3 people, then people have to work together to eliminate him?
He could be, but that's not really his spot right now. And I don't know if Kane was in this Royal Rumble. He might have filled that spot. Undertaker wouldn't have been because he was wrestling Shawn for the title in the casket match where Shawn would seriously aggravate his back injury that would cause him to be out of wrestling for several years.
I don't know. That's at least fairly common in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's a fairly common spot. And there's also the common spot where everybody will be eliminated and just have one guy waiting for people.
Yeah.
Or, you'll have the guy's rival come out and be like, oh no, he's coming.
The tropes of wrestling.
Wrestling is cliche.
Well, come on. You can point to stuff like that in any form of entertainment.
Oh, definitely.
It sounds like you're coming down on pro wrestling.
No.
And there are definitely things you can come down about with pro wrestling, but pro wrestling is fantastic. I still to this day, even though I'm not a huge fan of the modern product by and large, pro wrestling is probably my favorite form of any kind of entertainment.
Nice
even more so than movies and music, stuff that I produce, pro wrestling is my go-to.
I like video games.
Big Larry from
I'm gonna go
Bradshaw
music.
to
That's
Mark
the best thing
Merrill.
I can go there. Wait, did you say pro wrestling above music?
Yes. I love professional wrestling, Alex.
Would you put pro wrestling above video games?
Yes.
Wow.
See, that I can believe, but wrestling over music?
You've known me your whole life. You do not realize what a big fan of professional
I'm
wrestling I
aware,
am.
but I'd assume music was higher.
I love music, don't get me wrong.
I mean, music and wrestling, that's the majority of your
There's music in pro wrestling. Oh,
And
come on.
books.
That's not fair at all.
Well, when I think, like, the big
How
things,
dare
like, what
you
does he
minim-
absolutely love?
You said that's
Those
the majority
things.
of my interest, though.
Yes.
How can you minimize me like that? We've done
I'm
a
sorry.
podcast together for 10 years now.
I mean, yes, but as you walk down the list, you get movies and games
Those
and
two.
books and all
Plus,
that,
you're my
too.
daughter, and we've lived together your whole life. But with the podcast, we should point out this is our 10th year of doing the podcast.
Yeah.
The actual anniversary of the podcast would come up in June, but 10 years of LexiCon.
Yeah.
He's taken out 2 people so far.
Nice.
Who has? Oh, Mark.
Yeah.
Was it Ahmed and Phineas?
Yes.
The 2 that are currently battling outside.
Why?
Ahmed's
I guess these don't like each other.
Ahmed's got a heck of a wedgie going on there.
Yeah.
You just don't give a fuck. I'm
feel
gonna
like-
kick some ass. I ain't worried about my ass. I'm kicking some ass.
I feel like that's probably a common thing to happen. They probably
I
just
think
got
most
used
wrestlers are
to
pretty
it.
good about keeping it out, though. If it started right up, they'd pull it down. I was gonna say, yeah, D'Lo and Mark are both members of the Nation of Domination, but they're... I mean, to be fair, it is everyone for themselves in the Royal Rumble.
Very true.
But you often see tag teams and factions working together, at least up to a point.
Yeah. God, that one guy is still out here.
Goldust?
Yes.
I'm sorry, the artist formerly known as Goldust.
Yeah.
I just find it odd that he has a bikini on top.
Oh, and here comes Kama Mustafa, the last member... Well, no, because Farouk's still there. But one of the last members of the Nation of Domination, who would go on to even greater fame within the next year, speaking of the time of this Rumble, as the Godfather, the wrestling pimp.
Ah.
I believe he runs a strip club in Las Vegas right now, from what I've heard.
Reasonable.
And another legitimate badass, too. Again, from what I've heard. I never had to dust up with him. Here again, we see black-on-black violence. The nation just can't get along.
They're talking about The Rock now.
This would be around the time that the nation would start to split up, though.
Yeah.
Rock would sort of usurp Farouk, and then they would just sort of gradually drift apart. D'Lo and Mark Henry kept their association for a little while after this. I think they would have a feud in the fall after Mark Henry turned on D'Lo during his feud with Jeff Jarrett.
Ah.
Lots
Lots of just sitting over there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long match. You gotta rest when you can.
Yeah.
There's a little slum boy over there.
Wrestler's having a slumber party.
Random forearm by Bradshaw and D'Lo.
I feel like somebody's going through a window at that slumber party. I don't think it's gonna be a peaceful slumber
Has
party
never
for
been a
long.
slumber boy match.
Nah. Probably. Not that I know of.
Honestly, at some point that breaks out into a brawl.
I mean, to be fair, I think during the Divas era of WWE, when the women's matches weren't taken that seriously, I'm pretty sure there was a pillow fight or two.
Of course.
What? Wrestling is dumb.
No, I need to see the men doing a slumber party.
Okay, wait, yeah, who's coming out? Is this... Everybody's waiting. Oh, it was Stone Cold. And he comes in from behind.
Reasonable.
There's a teleport in there.
And there goes Mero. Stone Cold, like I said, would go on to win this match. His second of 3 Royal Rumble victories, along with 97 in 2001.
Eliminated 8 Ball.
It's taking everyone out.
Back kick on D'Lo.
Guess who's the main character?
Yeah, with them positioning Austin like this, they may not have had the big guy dominating and then everybody having to gang up on him this year. Because that would kind of take a shine of Stone Cold coming in and eliminating everybody.
Yeah.
Using his vest to choke D'Lo. Which, I guess technically there's no disqualifications in the Royal Rumble, so...
Nice.
I guess technically you could just bring a gun out and start shooting people.
Oh, God.
Chucking their dead bodies over the...
Oh, no!
You know, I'm surprised we haven't seen that in a match before.
I feel like there's some legality stuff there.
I mean, there was the infamous angle between Stone Cold and Brian Pillman when Stone Cold was perpetrating a home invasion on Pillman, and Pillman had a gun, and they cut to black, and you heard a gunshot. And then during the Attitude Era on Raw, Stone Cold took Vince hostage and had a gun to his head, but it turned out it was like a fake gun with a little flag that popped out. But we didn't find out until after Vince had peed himself in the ring.
They do some interesting things.
Look, the Attitude Era was great. I'm not saying everything was perfect, but the Attitude Era was great.
It definitely has a lot of interesting things.
It was so much fun to watch. I'm not going to defend everything that went on. Here comes Hogg. Henry O'Godwin, the partner of Phineas.
Oh, God was right.
Get him out, too.
I think Phineas is the one who's now a chef.
Interesting.
Phineas' real name, Dennis Knight, and Henry O is Mark Canterbury. I first saw them in WCW as Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce.
Oh.
And yeah, I'm not going to defend the rebel flags he's wearing on his clothes.
Yeah.
I think, you know, even in early 90s you see that in wrestling, it's uncomfortable. By 98, I think it was well past time to be beyond that. I mean, in his defense, he is a heel, so at least he's not.
Yeah,
at least he's not the baby face wearing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at least to some degree, I can understand it as part of a costume character heel situation, but at the same time, it's like, oh God.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get your heat in other ways than by that.
This would be a good villain, bro.
What is happening there? They have They had 2 people on the ropes.
I'm actually surprised Stone Cold didn't eliminate more people when he came in. I feel like they had him set up to damn near clear the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only took out like 2 people.
I was gonna ask, have they ever done anything that was questionable that they kind of regretted it? Not like...
Yes.
I don't want to say not like controversial questionable, but just really questionable.
Yes.
I'm sure they would put like half the stuff they did.
I mean, I think the list there would be too long to even go into, but I could bring up Katie Vick again.
List of regrettable things the WWE
The
has
mock
done.
necrophilia when Triple H was feuding with Kane, and the storyline was that Kane's girlfriend had died, and he was accusing him of having sex with her.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of
Okay, not counting that.
things. A lot of questionable things.
That definitely qualifies.
Here comes
as what
Savio
were you
Vega bringing his
doing?
whole group in with him, which again, I guess, technically legal.
Technically.
It's one of those things that makes you kind of scratch your head, like, this just doesn't make sense. There should be some bounds to the matches.
At this point, I'm just gonna come out with a freaking baseball bat.
I mean, at this point, is
Make
it
sure it's
fair for
wrapped in
them to
barbed
throw
wire,
a
though.
fan out of the ring?
If you had to that, you can't have a baseball bat.
Did you say
without
throw a fan
wire.
out of
Like, if a fan decided to jump in that ring.
If a fan comes in the ring, he's going to get his ass beat. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's legitimate.
But I'm saying, can anybody complain about it happening?
Well, I mean, they're not encouraging fans to get in the ring by any means, just because they're having other wrestlers get in the ring.
Yes, I
These guys are all part of the
It was a
program.
joke, because there's absolutely no rules happening here.
No rules.
I still feel like in a match like this, there should be a little more structure to it. You shouldn't be able to... Even in like a no disqualification match, I mean, if you're going to have some sense of realism to it, other people shouldn't be able to get involved. At that point, you would throw the match out.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, what I'd do is I'd bring out a screwdriver and take apart the ring. Can't go over the top rope if there's no ring.
But then you couldn't eliminate anybody either, so the match would just never...
Bring out scissors, cut all the ropes.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Really big scissors.
I don't think that's
Comically
gonna
hard
work.
scissors.
In WWF, the ropes are actually ropes.
Nice. You're still gonna need some pretty good scissors and a bit of
Comically
time to get
large.
through that,
I'll bring
though.
out a comically large spoon.
So they'd have to set up like a fake rope or something to easily cut through it for a gimmick.
How many wrestlers can I eliminate?
Yes,
only a spoonful brings out comically large spoon.
I thought maybe you'd have a comment as Farouk makes his way to the ring.
What about?
Damn!
Ah,
You've literally met him.
I forgot.
Ron Simmons in his role as Farouk, the leader of the Nation of Domination.
I didn't know that was him.
Well, now you know.
One of my all-time
Yes.
favorites. Loved his run as world champion in WCW in 1992. The first widely recognized African-American world champion.
Nice.
Many other African-American wrestlers had held regional versions of the world title, but he was the first one to carry what was really recognized on a national scale as a world championship when he was champion in WCW in 1992. Rock and Stone Cold, one of the all-time WWE WWF rivalries.
The Rock
Kind of
versus
just
the
getting
Stone.
started now.
Reasonable.
Surprisingly, I'm not sure I've ever heard that reference made. I'm sure somebody slipped it in somewhere, but it was never
A big thing.
the focal point.
Ooh.
Nor should it have been, but I'm surprised I hadn't heard it more.
The Rock saying something, but I have no idea what.
Of course, they would go on to headline 3 WrestleManias after this. I think the only wrestlers who've wrestled each other at 3 different WrestleManias.
Wow.
They would be the main event for the championship in 99 and 2001, and they'd have Stone Cold's last match at the time in WrestleMania 2003.
Gosh dang, how many more people are there?
I'm not sure. I wasn't keeping up.
Oh, there he is!
This is another reason I thought this would be a good one to watch, because I knew Mick came out 3 different times.
Yes.
The dude was a really fun character when he debuted in the summer of 97.
And already taking someone out.
If y'all don't know the history, when Mick made a couple of videos with his friends when he was in college,
Oof.
it's sort of his fantasy wrestling videos, and the character he played in it was Dude Love. It was sort of a Shawn Michaels, ladies' man, sort of pretty boy babyface kind of wrestler. Mm-hmm. And then years later, they did an in-depth interview with him on Raw in 1997, and they showed some footage from it, and the fans really got into the idea of the Dude Love and character. And they debuted him as a mystery partner for Steve Austin. When Steve Austin, he and Shawn had been tag team champions. He received the People's Elbow from Rock to one of his Nation teammates. Ooh. But anyway, Steve and Shawn had been tag team partners as tag team champions, and Shawn was injured, and they had to hold up the belt. So Steve was going to have a match with the former champions Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith for the vacant tag team titles, and he'd come out saying he didn't need a partner, but then Dude debuted saying, I'm going to be your partner, Steve, and so he came out in the Dude Love garb for the first time. I'm not doing it justice. If you really want to see, go back and watch those Raws from 97 or any of the Mick Foley compilations that probably have a bit of it on there. But Dude Love was a really fun character in the summer of 97, the summer of love.
Nice.
I don't think there's enough people left for Mick to be eliminated. They come out as just Mick.
Well, he didn't really wrestle as Mick at this point, so that would have been strange. He did technically wrestle one match. I think after this, though, he had a match with Terry Funk during the Dude's heel turn when he was Austin's challenger for the world title, coming off of WrestleMania. And he was sort of being manipulated by the evil McMahon. He and Terry Funk had sort of a match for Mick's soul that he wrestled as Mick Foley.
Okay.
Not literally. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was literally.
No, I'm just saying the idea of considering they had a match where it was Vince and Shane against Shawn Michaels and God. Yeah, I'm not really surprised.
Pardon?
Yeah. Shawn's when he came back in the early 2000s, he was a born again Christian, and they did a feud between Vince and Shawn where Vince started mocking Shawn's religion, and he even set up a match where it was he and God against Vince and Shane. They even had a spotlight, like, come down to the ring to be God. Like, they weren't really trying to sell that God's really there. It was supposed to be Vince mocking Shawn was the idea of it. So it is a stupid idea, but at least it does make some sense within context.
Look, you already established that there's been numerous interesting choices in wrestling.
I called up God to come kick your ass.
Like I said, the idea was it was Vince mocking Shawn's religion.
I won't be surprised if they actually didn't have God.
They weren't really trying to sell that idea that anybody believed it was, oh, God's really his partner. It was supposed to be them putting Shawn in a compromising position and mocking his faith. So, I mean, it was a dumb angle, don't get me wrong, but it's not as dumb as it sounds if you didn't really see it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still pretty dumb.
It wasn't as dumb as it sounds.
It's not, and again, to the Mick thing, they weren't literally
dumb.
bowing for it. It was just the idea of, like, you had the evil McMahon here trying to control Mick, and Terry's trying to, you know, bring him back to the good side, and so it was, that's what I meant by a battle for Mick's soul. I'm sorry, that's verbiage that Mick used in his book, so. And again, metaphorically speaking.
I won't be surprised if they have had a battle for someone's actual soul.
It's Vader, one of the all-time great big men in the history of pro wrestling. Actually, the reason I'm a wrestling fan is Big Van Vader, as he used to be known. My uncle had seen him, and on the day of my birthday party in 1990. I don't know if my birthday party was actually on my birthday because I had it at the local arcade. And it was called I don't remember what they call a private birthday party at the arcade, but the only problem with it is you had to have it before the mall opened, which means you had to have it like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oof.
So you could have you and your friends had the arcade all to yourselves. And
yeah.
It was a cool deal, but it had to be first thing in the morning. So we got home from that, and then the morning WCW show was on it, and he had told me about him before, but he happened to, oh, there's the guy I want to show you, because he used to have this big elaborate headdress, and I know I've shown it to you before. I think we've even talked about it on the podcast. It had like this long, I'm not going to do it justice, but this big ornate metal helmet with this long trunk, very, very Japanese style, because that's where the character originated with, I think, New Japan Pro Wrestling. It might have been All Japan, but I think it was New Japan. But and it blew steam out of it. It was really cool. He looked pretty much the same as he does now, but he had the helmet that he would wear down at the ring, and that was the thing. The mom was like, you got to see this, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And then from there, I kind of got into pro wrestling. Again, we've told the story before on the podcast, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, Big Van Vader's the reason I'm a wrestling fan.
Nice.
And he was definitely not at the height of his career. He was very misused in the WWF, and he wasn't helped by the fact that Shawn Michaels was a real prick back then and sort of derailed his push. But legitimately one of the all-time great, especially for really large workers, very agile, could do a moonsault. And again, unfortunately, somebody else is no longer with us. And it's kind of sad. I mean, this is, 25 years ago? There really shouldn't be this many people in the match gone now.
Yeah.
Just 25 years later.
It's crazy how many people are gone, but also how many people are still around. Like, there's some of these people I watch, and it's like, damn, they're still going? Damn. Like, good for them, but damn.
Are we out of wrestlers yet, or have we still got a couple to come?
I have no idea.
Have we seen anybody in a while?
I think we're at least nearly done.
We should be near the end, yeah. Vader was the last one we saw come in, so...
Yeah.
Stone Cold has eliminated like 3 more people.
Oh, Vader's
gone.
out.
Wow.
Eliminated by Dustin.
Oh, and I guess he just...
Like I said, Vader was never used very well in the WWF.
Ever
do the flop. Damn, you got there slightly before I did.
I don't know why he just decided to face plant, but...
Oh, now he's out.
Well,
finally.
He's out.
Yeah, I think we're getting down in the nitty-gritty here. I think we're out of competitors.
Probably.
We're like, alright, let's get this filler out of here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Final Four is going to be Rock, Stone Cold, Farouk, and Dude Love. Dude Love was the one I didn't want to mention earlier because I didn't want to spoil it. That's always fairly significant who the Final Four are. That's always kind of a big deal. And it's usually 4 fairly big names, or maybe like 3 big names and kind of a surprise, or 3 big names and maybe... In later years, a lot of times you'd have former wrestlers coming back just for the Rumble. So they'd be factored in the mix here. So technically here you've got 2 members of the Nation of Domination and former partners in Dude Love and Stone Cold, even though Stone Cold was in that DTA era where he's like, don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
just kind of in it for himself.
Nice.
But it looks like we might have a short-term reteaming.
Of course, having The Rock and Stone Cold.
The early days of the Austin. This is really great seeing the early days of the Austin Rock rivalry here, though.
Oof.
Threw them into each other for a big hug.
Double arm DDT. Bang bang. You know that's Cactus move, and there we go. There's the DTA.
Wow.
Wow.
Rude.
Fab.
Nah, you kind of expect that from Steve. Mandible Claw.
Still rude.
That's Mankind's finisher. They briefly called it the love handle when Dude used it.
Interesting.
And Dude is out.
Damn it.
In Stone Cold, Farouk, and Dude Love, those are three of the wrestlers that I remember from my very early days of watching wrestling as stars in WCW.
I'm pretty sure The Rock
It's interesting we have-
up there. He's like, nah, I'm just gonna lay back down.
We have three WCW alumni, and then the one homegrown talent in The Rock, who's going to double-cross Farouk and eliminate him.
Yeah, we have
Not
just
double
them in
crossing.
the ring.
And here we go, the classic rivalry, Rock and Stone
double
Cold.
crossing is just part of the Royal Rumble.
These guys will do a lot of business together in the next few years.
I feel like double crossing is part of wrestling.
Easily the signature
Yeah.
feud of the Attitude Era. Oh, he's not out, Steve. Watch out. Stunner. And now he's out.
Damn.
Man, he's a captain rolling.
Yeah. He's like, fine, I'm just gonna roll right out of it.
Just rolls up the ramp, still rolling. That's what we call rock and roll.
We're getting a second good one in there. We need to watch more Rock matches, apparently.
I have a whole line of rock puns. Oh yeah, Mike Tyson, so I forgot. He's kind of pissed for a moment.
Yeah, and maybe even the next night, Stone Cold would have the infamous pull apart with Mike Tyson, where he would come in the ring and shove him, and everybody would surround him, and Vince would be screaming, "You ruined everything, Austin!" and really kick off the Austin McMahon feud. And Tyson would initially side with Shawn and his group DX, but when push came to shove in the match, he would end up counting the fall for Steve and then knocking out Shawn in storyline after the match to show that he was on Austin's side all along. And that would sort of really kick off the Austin era. A few weeks later, Steve and Vince would have a match on Raw. Well, they would build up to the match all week on Raw. Not all week, all night on Raw. And then eventually Dude Love would come out and interrupt it, and that would set up Dude to be Steve's first challenger for the world title. But that night on Raw would be the first time that Raw had beaten Monday Nitro in the ratings in 83 weeks.
Wow.
And for the next year or so, it would be sort of back and forth. And then in 99, WCW would just sort of completely fall apart, and WWF would soar on to the point that it eventually, of course, bought WCW in 2001. And now WCW's but a memory.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It wasn't very good at the end, though. Michael Cole's interviewing Mike Tyson. This could be when he says Cold Stone. I'm not sure if the closed caption would even catch it, but I don't think it was at the Rumble, because I know I heard him say it, but we did have a tendency to watch some of the pay-per-views that we didn't get, just because you could hear the audio, but the broadcast would be scrambled. Mm-hmm. So if we didn't have anything better to do, sometimes we didn't buy the pay-per-view, we would still listen in.
Yeah.
But I do very vividly remember Mike Tyson in an interview calling Cold Stone Steve Austin. And I mean, I'm shocked there wasn't an endorsement deal out of that with Cold Stone Creamery, but...
Right.
Alright, so that was the 1998 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
One of the matches that spurred Stone Cold on to his historic run atop the then WWF.
Mick was the best part of it, though.
He was definitely one of the stars in the Three Faces of Foley. So you guys looking forward to the real life Royal Rumble? Real life, as if this was fake. The current iterations of the Royal Rumbles coming up this year.
Man, can't wait for someone to do a wacky, not technically eliminated, for the big man to come out, eliminate 2 people, then have 5 people have to eliminate him. And what other Royal Rumble things are there?
I legit, when the one wrestler gets freaked out because his rival's coming out.
Oh yeah, that.
I legitimately thought you were going to say you couldn't wait for the wacky waving inflatable arm floating tube man at the end of the match. But now, as we said,
Then everyone has to team up to eliminate it. It's the big man.
Don't stay down.
Stay down! I wouldn't be surprised.
Alright, well, thanks to you two for watching along with me here, and thanks for everybody who listened along. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you will come back next time when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon concluded.
Bye!